Hey, sports fans, this is Rich Flaherty with your Week 3 TFL results show. Let's go directly to the headlines. Headline number one: Flying Monkeys score 117 to win the game of the week and move to 3-0. And in a related story, Flying Monkeys break the century mark for the third straight week and extend their total points lead. Now, is this historic? And a follow on story: the Flying Monkeys going 3 weeks in a row with a breaking the century mark is not the longest streak starting the season. Back in 2020, we had Money who started with 4 weeks, and back in 2018, Hootie actually started out with 5 straight weeks, and those are the longest streaks of 100 plus to start a season. So we'll see if Flying Monkeys can continue the 100-point streak to break that record. And another related story on this, Hang, the poor loser Hang, lost to the Monkeys this week in that game of the week. Their score of 112 would have beat every other team in the league except for the Monkeys. So tough loss there for Hang, but they certainly are positioned well moving forward. Also, we have Girls on the Beach, who somehow, using smoke and mirrors, moved to 3-0, mainly because teams are only scoring 67 points per week against them. So it's easy to win when you're having only 67 points scored against you. Now, this one is interesting. This is not even close to historic. You'd think that getting, I think, only 201 points scored against you is pretty low. But just last year, we had the G-Men who went 3-0 and only had 156 points scored against them in 3 weeks for only 52-point average. So certainly not historic, but Girls on the Beach are probably heading towards a big game against them sometime soon. We also had the Fat, who got 19 points from McPherson to complete the Monday night comeback and just barely and easily beat ED. But that wasn't the most surprising result from a Monday night comeback, as MVH also had a huge Monday night comeback to move to 2-1, and we'll talk about that game later. Venus and Halfway House both win their first game of the year. Congratulations to both, and we have no more winless teams left in SOFA right now. And the last headline: SOFA as a league exits week 3 with, count them, 8 1-2 teams. This is historic. We have never had more than 6 1-2 teams after week 3. So historic that we have 8. Obviously, we have a lot of those teams will be playing each other, so there's so many of them. So we're not going to have that many 1-3 teams. But let's see if see if we can keep that streak going with the most 1-3 teams next week. All right, so let's get to the games. We've already talked about game number one, our game of the week. This was Hang versus the Flying Monkeys. Hang actually was favored by CBS with a 104.92 score. CBS thought it was a lot closer and actually had Flying Monkeys as the favorite at 95.9 to 95. And it was a close game. If you were watching it at all, I know I was, and I don't think Gavin was watching as close. But coming out of the Sunday games, it was a 2-point game at that point. And last night, at one point, it was tied for a long time, and then at the end. The Flying Monkeys ended up getting 5 points from Kyron Williams versus the 2 points that Devontae Smith got for Hang, giving the Flying Monkeys the 117 to 112 victory. So very great game there, very exciting towards the end. Game number 2 was Girls on the Beach versus Louisville Share. This one actually was supposed to be a blowout by both lines, with Girls on the Beach easily defeating Share, and it turned out to be the blowout we all expected, as Girls on the Beach got 27 from Tua, which I'm amazed with them scoring that many points that Tua only got 27, but I guess because he had so many rushing touchdowns, that was the case. even though he threw 4 TDs. And then some decent across the board double digit scoring to pull out the easy 91-68 victory over Cher, despite Cher getting 21 from Purdy, which was a pretty big week for Purdy, but just didn't have anywhere near the firepower to get there. As I said, girls on the beach go to 3-0. Louisville Cher drops to 1-2. Game number 4 was G-Men versus Venus. This was supposed to be a close game by both lines, although TFL had it, or CBS had it a little bit easier victory for Venus, and they were actually, I'm sorry, yeah, for Venus. TFL saw it as a much closer 3-point game for Venus, but it turns out Venus was able to get some decent double-digit scoring. Finally got a touchdown from Jefferson, which is amazing. To go, 250 yards, 130, 150 yards the first 2 weeks with no TDs. Finally got a TD from him, and got a good week from their Browns defense with 14 to pull off the 84-72 victory, getting their first win of the year. So congratulations to Venus, as we all heard, en route to their 7-game winning streak that they project is going to happen. And both teams end up after this week at 1-2. Game number 4 was ED versus the Fat. As I said, this was one of the Monday night comebacks. The Fat, both teams actually got great weeks from their quarterbacks. ED got 30 from Jackson. The Fat got 26 from Kirk Cousins. And ED actually got 26 from Keenan Allen, who all of a sudden has been a behemoth as far as scoring this year. But the big difference here was the special teams play and defense from the Fat. The Fat got 34 points from their Bills defense, and then last night they got 19 points from McPherson to come from 9 points back to overtake ED and win the victory. And mainly because Higgins was non-existent again. Higgins only got 2 points, and that was really what probably cost ED the victory if they had gotten another good week from Higgins. So again, Fat win 108-98. Congratulations, they moved to 2-1. ED drops to 1-2. Game number 5 was your Huckleberry against Halfway House. This was supposed to be an easy victory for Halfway House. And you know what? It was a relatively easy victory for Halfway House. Now, Huckleberry was a little bit behind the 8 ball because they, as we said in the pre-show, they started Brandon Ayuk. They got 0 points from Brandon Ayuk. But looking at their team, they really did not have another player they could have started instead of Ayuk to actually make up the difference anyway. Now, they did get 47 points from Davon Aiken, which I'm now understanding that's how we're supposed to that's how we're supposed to pronounce his name, is Aiken, who had 47 points in the Miami game, which again was, as we all watched, was incredible. That was amazing because Mostert, the starter, got 38 points. Of course, didn't play at all in the for about 2/3 of the second half, but again, who would have started Aiken last, and expected him to be the player he ended up being this week? So we'll see with that going forward. That could, if he starts to get a bigger part of the share for Miami, that could be big for them. But again, go back to Halfway House. I'm sorry, I should never have gone so far down the Huckleberry path. Halfway House got 29 from Devontae Adams, 20 from Hurts last night, and they pull out the victory. And I didn't realize that was a comeback victory. A comeback victory for Halfway House, getting 20 from Hurts to pull out the 81-70 victory or win, and they moved to 1-2. Huckleberry drops to 1-2. And the last game was No Way in Hell Hall versus MVH, and this was the most exciting game of the Monday night slate, as the MVH had the Eagles defense, and they had Tutu Atwell going last night, as opposed to No Way in Hell Hall had Devontae Smith and was going into the game with the lead. They did get their 13 points from Devontae Smith, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown going into it. So they did get 26 points from those two players. But the Eagles defense and Tutu Atwell and got 27 points. So the two teams went into Monday night tied. They both had two players going, and it turns out that the Eagles defense and Tutu Atwell outscored AJ Brown and Swift by 1 point to pull out the 98-77 victory. So an incredibly tough finish there, especially because the Eagles defense got a sack towards the end of that game. That was the deciding factor. So again, congratulations MVH, who moves to 2-1. No way in hell Hall joins the 1-2 crew, and they as they lose by 1 point to MVH. So there you go. There's our week 2 results. Congratulations to the different teams that won. And again, better luck next week for the teams that lost. As I mentioned, I think in the previous show, it's going to be tough for me to get any type of preview show out this week because we're going to Florida for the weekend, flying down tomorrow. Going to have crappy weather, but we're going to be in down at the beach and down in Clearwater Beach. So we'll still enjoy it. Probably have to drink a little bit more than to enjoy it with the crappy weather, but that's okay. We're going to have a great time. I'll see if I can try to get something sent out at least via messaging through the app to you. But if I can figure out how to do a preview show from the beach, I'll do my best. So have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.